Hello everyone and welcome to the Adidas Race Recon Series for the Two Oceans Ultra and Half Marathons 2013. I'm Ross Tucker, and what I will be doing for the next week is talking you through some of the key sections of the respective routes. I know that you've all done the training, your bodies are ready, your minds are ready, and you are raring to go, but what we need to talk now is tactics. And we begin with Southern Cross Drive, which is one of the most feared sections of the half marathon route. Now it comes at quite an awkward time in the race because it's in that very difficult third quarter where you've done half the event but you're not yet close enough to the finish to push on, and so you're kind of in no man's land, and mentally it's very easy on Southern Cross Drive to start to feel like you can't do it. It's almost like a dialogue will start happening where one shoulder is telling you you can keep going and the other shoulder is telling you no, you can't, it's too much. And it's really important that you shut that dialogue down. The only things to think about on this climb is your breathing, your pace, and your form, and just relax. So I'm going to talk you through the climb and show you that there are three distinct sections. It kicks up, flattens off, kicks up, flattens off, and then one final pull to the top. And if you understand that, then you'll be able to find a comfortable rhythm that will get you to the top, which is at 13 kilometers, feeling good enough to push on and really drive it home at the finish. I took the car out and I'm going to talk you through those landmarks and also what your mindset needs to be on Southern Cross Drive on race day. So we start at the bottom. This is the left turn off Parish Road onto Southern Cross shortly after 10 kilometers. This is an extremely well supported section of the race, and so you will have hundreds of people cheering you on, and it's important that you don't get carried away. If the adrenaline gets the better of you and you push too hard on what is actually a fairly gradual introduction, you may well pay for it later on. So just hold back and relax. The key to this climb, as with any climb, is finding a comfortable rhythm that suits you. So settle into that as early as you can. Your breathing and your pace must be controlled from the very start. You don't want to get carried away and find yourself pushing into the red zone, because then the last 2 kilometers are going to be very tough indeed. If you do find that you're taking strain, that you're going into the red, and that your breathing is becoming more and more difficult, just relax. Don't force the pace here. You've gone past 11 Ks now, which means 2 to go to the summit, and you're about to hit the first of one of 2 slightly flatter sections that should allow recovery. There are 3 uphill pulls on the climb. You've done one, and you're now on that less steep recovery section. Ahead of you, where you can see that car bending off to the right, is the steepest part of the climb. It will start as you go under these trees, and for about 700 meters, it is quite steep here. This is where the road starts to take its toll, and where you may start to feel as though you're taking strain. Once again, if you're trying to run for a target time, or if you're running with one of the Adidas pacing buses, don't panic if you start to lose contact. Focus on your form, your breathing, and your relaxation, because you're about to go past the 12 kilometer mark as you bend to the right here, and that means that you've only got 1 kilometer to go. So even if you lose contact or you slow down a little bit too much, there is an opportunity to recover once you get to the top. Speaking of recovery, this now is the second of those relatively flatter sections where you can just gather yourself, take a few deep breaths, and start to recover. You then start to kick into the last uphill pull on this climb. This kilometer from 12 to 13 is pretty much constantly uphill, and so it's therefore the slowest of the race. Once again, don't panic if you find yourself slowing down. There are about 400 meters to go, and as you make the sweep to the left, you will see that the road actually drops down. There's a very short, gradual downhill, and it's at this point that you've got Southern Cross in the bag. What's important now is that you keep in mind that you must run over the hill. The work is not done because you're coming up to 13 kilometers and it's followed by a fairly long downhill. And so what's key at this point is that you keep the effort going. There are thousands of people, there are bands playing music. This is the moment where you know that the race really begins. As you make this right turn, that's the 13K mark and you're on your way home. And that is that, as far as Southern Cross Drive goes. It's a challenging climb, make no mistake, but it's a climb that will allow you enough opportunity to control your physiology if you are disciplined enough. And that's because it's got those flat sections where you can kind of recover on the climb. And if you are disciplined and control your pace from the beginning, then you will get to the top feeling good enough to really tackle those last 8 kilometers aggressively. The key point, and I'm laboring this point, is that you must find as early as possible a comfortable rhythm for you. Don't let yourself get carried or sucked into other people's paces, and also don't get carried away with the amazing crowd support and the adrenaline that they give you. Early on, you can cost yourself a great deal of time if you push too hard. And so it's vital to understand that it's not how you start this climb, it's how you finish this climb. As long as you do that, I'm confident that you'll be able to tick it off en route to your target time. Speaking of which, you must obviously allow for losses of time on the climb. This is the most difficult section of the race. And so you can quite reasonably assume that you will lose between 45 and 90 seconds per kilometer. So budget for that time loss so that you don't panic on the day. It's really, really key that at no point on this climb do you feel that you are pushing yourself into the red. Having said that, many of you will struggle. You will feel heavy, you will feel slow, you will feel that your breathing is becoming more and more difficult. That is normal, you're going up a steep hill. And because you're only halfway in the race, mentally you have to have strength at that moment to say, just deal with 1 kilometer at a time. And by the time you get to the top, recover on the descent and then assess how your day is going. But don't get negative because you're finding the climb difficult. If you can achieve all those things, then I'm 100% confident that when you tackle those final 8Ks, you will have enough in your legs to be aggressive and hit your target times. And that is what we will talk about in our next clip.